Welcome everyone, Ify here with a video about fragrances which I have in my collection, and when I first smelled them they reminded me of a more popular and more expensive fragrance. But while these fragrances reminded me of those, they are not clones of those fragrances. Okay, so let's say that one more time. The fragrances I'm going to show you are not clones or fragrances inspired by more popular and more expensive fragrances. But to my nose at least, they can be considered as alternatives to those fragrances. Let's begin and maybe you'll get the idea of what I'm talking about. The first two fragrances, the first set of fragrances is this Cybergarden by Costume National. This is a very interesting and unique fragrance. Why? Because it has a unique note or accord. It has a vinyl accord, which gives the fragrance a plasticky, almost metallic, futuristic-like smell. The title Cybergarden I think is perfect here because it does smell like a futuristic cyber garden. And when I've smelled this fragrance, Aquaverde by Salvatore Dali, it definitely reminded me of this, but it lacks that unique note. Except that I think this also has that futuristic green smell, also a bit aquatic, but also it lacks the performance of this one. While this lasts around 1 hour on my skin, this goes beyond 6 hours easily. But this costs around £5 and this is at least 10 times more expensive. Okay, the next set of fragrances is made out of this one, Timbuktu by L'Artisan Parfumeur, which again is a very unique fragrance. Haven't smelled anything like this, never found a clone of this, and this is the fragrance that to my nose gave me a vibe of Timbuktu. And this is Black Fleece by Brooks Brothers. I don't know why it's called Black Fleece, because bottle is white, the smell is white, because it's also a light citrusy green tea fragrance. This is also a green tea based fragrance, Timbuktu, but much more complex. It gives you more, it changes a lot, while this, when it loses that first opening with citruses, then you're left with that green tea smell, and it seems like this lacks a base, which would also help in making this fragrance last longer. And yes, while this doesn't last as bad as the other one, like Salvatore Dali Aquaverde, this lasts around 5 hours on my skin, which is okay for how much this one costs. This costs around 15 to 20 pounds for the 125 ml bottle. A bottle which not only looks nice, it's heavy and it's ceramic, while this can go even beyond 100 pounds. The next one I want to show you is not going to be a set of fragrances, because Dunhill Century, to my nose, smells better than the more expensive fragrance, which in this case is Santal 33 by Le Labo. Vegetable cucumber effect that produces when you smell it, combined with that sandalwood. This also has a bit of that, but it has more neroli, which makes this more wearable and nicer in my opinion. And also it comes in 135 ml size, much cheaper. Eau de Parfum performs really well on my skin. Overall, a great scent in my opinion. In terms of similarity, this is much more similar to the more expensive fragrance than what I've shown you before. The next fragrance comes from the house of Lalique, and it's Lalique Pour Homme. Eau de Parfum, 75 ml size. Bottle is great. The house of Lalique is great, produces great fragrances with low prices. This is not an exception, but it does smell like a much more expensive fragrance, one that used to be my most favorite Creed fragrance a couple of years ago. This smells like Creed's Bois de Portugal. It doesn't have that Creed quality, but it has the Lalique quality, which is also very nice. also again the performance is very good on this one. I'm gonna say this, while I have La Ligue pour Homme, I don't feel like I need to go for Pó de Portugal. It's that good, this one. And the last two fragrances I want to show you are these two, L'Instant de Guerlain, and the fragrance which reminded me when I first smelled it of Guerlain L'Instant is LT Piver Cedre. Even the bottles look a bit similar. I do like this one better, the bottle. If you have smelled L'Instant de Guerlain, maybe you understand what I'm saying when I'm talking about the fragrance smelling like sand, dry sand. It has like very, not powdery, but dusty feel to it, and this also gives me that. But again, it doesn't have the complexity of L'Instant de Guerlain. This changes a lot. It has a floral aspect to it, which in some cases, for some people, at least to me at some point, it gave me the impression of a feminine side of this fragrance, the floral aspect. This one lacks that. This is pretty linear. It's very linear actually, and it has a very high dose of cedar wood, which makes it like a rough edged fragrance. This can be picked up in TK Maxx for around £15, while this can be picked up for around £30, which is not that big of a difference. And that was it, guys. These were fragrances which, to my nose at least, can be considered alternatives to more expensive fragrances. Till the next video, keep smelling great.